We are live.
Ah!
Hello,
Danny!
everyone.
Weapon!
Watagwan.
Boy, me there in the hot. So something, our lives just changed just like that. Pow! Flap!
Yeah,
Flip! Pop! Just like
yeah,
that. What
yeah.
happened? How did we get here?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh,
But you should have seen me today trying to divert from traffic because it was going to make me late.
oh,
I don't know what was going on the roads, but yeah. But
oh.
it's good to be here. Another Caribbean Currents.
Good to be here. Good to see you too.
Yes, man. Good to see you, Leo. Dr. Leo Gilling.
Oh, Lord of mercy. For you, it's Leo, okay?
This morning, somebody called me Dr. Peart. I'm correct them, but I said, boy, this is the idea. This idea come back again.
I think I think of them kind of thing they kind of got me going too. So they don't feel bad.
Yeah,
Maybe you
yeah.
jump on it. I have the glasses already.
Right, right. I look studious. So
No, I really mean that though. How did we get from
concept to live.
yeah
I think you know what it is?
yeah
We have something in common.
yeah
The two of us move when we need to move.
passion? Yes,
So you message me and
yes. You just keep going. Light bulbs.
yeah, once light bulbs go off from me, people say sometimes I linger, but things have to make sense. You see, if something makes sense to me immediately, I move immediately.
Yes,
But
yes,
if I have to sit and figure it out and so on, but this one was almost a no-brainer, and I don't know why, because it's not like we've done this together
before.
before.
And guess what? I'm thanking all the people who have written to me and text me and called me and said, Leo, may I enjoy you and Danae? I mean, I said, wow, that's
Okay, that's
nice.
good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yes, really nice. Really nice.
Good to
So,
hear. So we are here another evening, Caribbean Currents. As you know, we do music, we do culture, we do politics, of course with a Caribbean lens because we're two Caribbean people. And we're streaming to some Caribbean people on Jamaicans.com, but we're also streaming on Leo's page at Leo Gilling. Is it
YouTube,
media? On YouTube.
YouTube. It's
Yeah. What is the name of the YouTube handle again? Just
something
Leo
media,
Gilling?
Leo Gilling Media. Yes,
Leo
Leo
Gilling
Gilling
Media.
Media.
And today I'm testing it on my page, which is
Yes.
Media Biz TO. So
So with on three place.
with the pantry space, you can't have no excuse for not suey.
Absolutely, absolutely,
We are
absolutely.
here, there, and everywhere. We
Yep.
wake up like
And,
CP24.
and we and we go grow too. We go grow and syndicate all over the place so that we can get
Yes,
nobody can say they can't find we.
yes,
All
this is
right.
it.
Yes.
So we're gonna keep it moving. This evening, we're keeping it modest with topics because some of them are long topics. So
Jesus.
we're keeping it modest. We of course want to touch on the budget presentation.
Oh wow, wow. Yo.
They've been interesting, and I have some clips, Leo, that are the
Yes.
fun clips that went
You do?
viral.
Okay, okay. That's
I
cool.
have,
That's
I have a
cool.
clip or two there. We want to talk about what is happening with the U.S., the new U.S. administration, and how it's impacting Caribbean leaders and the Caribbean as a whole. Of course, we have to touch some music. Bounty Killa got his visa, so we have to.
What? Hey, hold on. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Why is it that every one of these major artists, when they come America, the first place them stop is
It's DJ Khaled.
Khalid?
We will talk about that. So,
Okay, all right.
and then tangentially but connected, there are some changes happening in America. Trump's strategy is to move rapid so you don't keep up.
Can't keep up.
You might miss some stuff, so we're going to talk about that.
Mm.
But let's start out. I think we should start out with the Caribbean, the impact on the Caribbean of some of these policy shifts, in particular Cuba.
That's been a big one all week.
In particular Cuba. So For a little bit of context, Marco Rubio, in his new role, just so people know, he's Cuban heritage,
Cuban. Yes, he's descendant from Cuba. First
descendant
generation, I think it is.
descendant from Cuba, so keep that in mind as we talk about this.
Yes.
So he has decided in his, I don't know, in his role to do a bit of hitting out. So let me just pull up quickly what he said here. So he's talking about new policy, and he says the expanded policy applies to current or former Cuban government officials and other individuals, including foreign government officials who are believed to be responsible for or involved in the Cuba labor export program, particularly Cuba's overseas medical missions. And this is actually what has gotten Caribbean leaders upset. First we heard from Mia Motley, but we're seeing that Gonzalez and other leaders are aligned with her. And there's a particular leader that is also quiet. I'm gonna play a clip to
on my way here.
It's not the clip. To get us going.
With the income tax.
This matter with the Cubans and the nurses should tell us everything that we need to know. Barbados does not currently have Cuban medical staff or Cuban nurses, but I will be the first to go to the line and to tell you that we could not get through the pandemic without the Cuban nurses and the Cuban doctors. I will also be the first to tell you that we paid them the same thing that we pay Bajans, and that the notion, as was peddled not just by this government in the US, but the previous government, that we were involved in human trafficking by engaging with the Cuban nurses was fully repudiated and rejected by us. Now, I don't believe that we have to shout across the seas, but I am prepared, like others in this region, that if we cannot reach a sensible agreement on this matter, then if the cost of it is the loss of my visa to the US, then so be it. But what matters to us is principles. And I have said over and over that principles only mean something when it is inconvenient to stand by it. Now, we don't have to shout, but we can be resolute. And I therefore look forward to standing with my CARICOM brothers. I wish I could say brothers and sisters, but brothers, to be able to ensure that we explain that what the Cubans have been able to do for us, far from approximating itself to human trafficking, has been to save lives and limbs and sight for many a Caribbean person.
Got something pop on my desk a while ago, my phone, and it says the Grenada Prime Minister also, he says, it means that we have to give up our visas right to the United States to make sure that Grenada stands behind Cuba as one of the countries that support Grenada in thick and thin. So be it. I am personally one of the persons who graduated from Cuba, and as such, I have a moral obligation to support the Cubans' interest. Trust me. We also saw Gonzalez. Who else? We had several Trinidad. No, I don't remember seeing Trinidad, but several other nations also came on board and say, "Hey, I'm willing." But I don't understand. I don't understand why we haven't heard from our Jamaican Prime Minister. And I'm not putting any pressure on anyone, but I remember back in the days, Michael Manley and the same Grenadian Prime Minister at the time stood up for Cuba, and Michael Manley said, nobody nah stop me from talk to my friend,
That is it.
my nearest neighbor. Nobody can. And if he say him now, when he say something about him now kneel and walk, he must turn up on him foot and walk, something to that effect. Mm-hmm. And it makes sense. I think that we have an obligation as a country. Listen, we can say America has done us good things because it's really has been a great space for Jamaica to continue. But for it's like me say because me not talk to you, me not fit talk to your friend who's my friend too. That is
Yeah.
foolishness.
Yeah.
You understand? Because you and I may have a conflict, but it doesn't mean that you're a friend of a conflict. It means
Yeah.
that we can continue to live. But if you're putting that kind of stress on me, you're asking me to choose my mother from my father or my friend from my friend. That's it's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
so you have to look where your strength is, and your strength right now is the rest of the Caribbean. And I think the prime minister need to come out and say something.
I am constantly disappointed in how Jamaica almost moving like Donald Trump, solo, we stand out, we're apart from. CARICOM is a body that can also have a strong fist in the world.
No, no, no,
And
no. They can also. They have a strong fist in the world. I'm sorry to cut you there.
yes, and has been a strong influence. Apartheid South Africa does not
Absolutely.
come crumbling without also our input as CARICOM nations. So it is so odd to me that we have entered this period politically and Jamaica is quiet on this issue. As you say, we're not pressuring nobody because again, they're with another side of politics. So
Mhm.
maybe for them, it means something else and they
And
don't want to
do you
affiliate.
remember NATO? NATO is an alliance of several countries that come together
Yeah,
and say, "Hey, we have to stick together." The CARICOM is the same thing.
yeah.
They may not have the arms and
Arms
the
and the money.
firepower and the money, but they have something. They have the strength
We
of
have
being
number, we
together.
have capacity, we have
Yes,
numbers, and we have knowledge thrust. And no
indeed.
people in the Caribbean.
I don't know
We're
if you know.
intelligent people who understand global politics and who can communicate on the world stage. So it is amazing to me that this level of quiet is happening.
Well, if I think about it, and I hope I'm not stretching here, right? But I think our government is also wanting to do or redo our constitution or
Yeah.
constitution
Constitutional reform is afoot.
reform,
Yeah,
and then leave the Privy Council in place.
yeah,
Now, if I get a good reason as to why we should keep the Privy Council in place, then I want to listen, but I don't hear any good reason yet, right?
yeah,
Because if we are restructuring or reforming our constitution, it's a whole abalu thing that we have to take everything into play.
yeah,
And if we're reforming, then it means that we are getting rid of something that was not working in the first place.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and to me, colonialism is that thing that was not working for us.
Right.
And we wrote a constitution during the colonial times that applies then, and I have no problem in the reform. But
Yeah.
it must also consist of everything in it. We have something called the CCJ, or is it CCCJ, the Caribbean Court of Justice, CCJ. And
Yeah.
I believe that the fact that we're not hearing anything from our Jamaican Prime Minister in the American regard, and then we are kind of leaving out the discussion on the
The
Privy Council.
Caribbean.
It's the same thing to me.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. But on this point, and to speak to Mia Motley's video, it is a bold statement. I've always held her as a very bold leader in the Caribbean. And when she says, if on this point I should lose my US visa, I'm prepared to do so. That's a big deal because, as you know, UN meets in the US. Mia has been guest presenter at a number of these multilateral, bilateral gatherings. So for her to be saying, I am willing to put my US visa on the line is a big deal.
Indeed.
And for other Caribbean nations to be joining in to say the same in regards to this. And we cannot ignore the work that Cubans do all the time in a crisis, Leo. It wasn't just COVID. Anytime there's a crisis, you can guarantee there will be an influx of Cuban medical personnel
To help people across, and I don't see them asking for anything special when they do these things.
No.
I see them being really good citizens, good people, helping out their neighbors.
And good resource, a very good resource, and everybody knows, like, they're well
They're
educated,
bright people.
well educated, and the right people for the moment.
Absolutely.
So it is. I think all Caribbean nations, all of CARICOM, should make this pushback to Marco Rubio. Shame him as somebody who come from Cuban heritage. Shame him into saying, how dare you tell us who to interact with when we have not had untoward interactions. It's not like them come with guns,
Right, exactly.
medication, and they come with them medical degrees to assist.
Exactly.
So how you're going to come now and talk about its exploitation of Cuban labor for ill means? What are we doing?
But here's the thing. Cubans are still on our islands right now.
Yeah.
Right? What is happening? What are they hearing or not hearing?
Yeah.
And how do we treat them giving their services on our island today? You understand? Because this conflict has arisen. And again, I'm going to ask you this, because I've asked you this question, because this is the topic of how did we get here again? I mean, I asked you that question in a different context earlier.
Yeah.
How did we get to the point where somebody is telling us that if you don't do this, we're gonna do this? That kind of thing. How did we get to United States having major conflict with Canada? How did we get there?
Out of order. Out of order is how we get there.
I don't get it.
We're in a period now. Only my grandmother could have said them out of order.
That's an answer.
We're in that phase now where nothing is in order. Nothing is in order in terms of how things, even how rules should be made, how things should progress, how laws are established. The current president thinks that an executive order is a bill. The administration is fully following him on every point. They are arguing about the power of the judicial arm. It is crazy time. Crazy time.
Well, the part that affects me most of all the things that I've talked about in the past couple of years, past couple of months, the one thing that has affected me was I woke up this morning with the thought that, we might be going back to 1918.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the, I saw where, for example, what our baseball guy there from the 40s that it was America's baby again,
Jackie Robinson.
They removed a lot of the stuff off of the DOJ's website because.
Yeah. Let's take Mark's comment and then we go into that.
Okay, great. Okay.
Mark Hayes says, I think Prime Minister Andrew is playing it smart. Don't get into a pissing match with this man. Okay, I've played smart, played safe. You have acquiesce. You have silence is consent. All of these things, Mark. So you tell me.
I don't know about the smart thing there, Mark. You need to say something to the Jamaican people. I don't know if smart is the word by being
and
quiet.
We have benefited from the Cubans. So
yeah.
Just quiet, so.
Yeah.
We don't like the silence, Mark. We don't like it.
In 1918, while I was on one of our shows back in maybe October, November, having a discussion, and the discussion went something like this, where I was preparing our audience for the worst, that if if the election goes in the way that most people don't expect it, like to have the current president and the current thing, that we may be facing something that I remember that we were facing back in 1980s, 84, 85, 86, where we used to see the patty pan come around and pick up people and so. But to be honest with you, I woke up this morning and I said to myself, but it's worse than that.
It is.
Because now they have removed a lot of executive orders have been signed where they have removed a lot of things. There's one thing here that no today was where let me tell you
They're
right now.
lifting, they're
They lift,
lifting segregation
yes, the ban on segregation.
and on segregation for businesses.
Like
So,
yeah,
Mark was continuing his thought here. You notice China don't do tit for tat yet. They could crash the US economy if they wanted to. We'll see, Mark. So what this segregation rule is, segregation in the US is still illegal. So now we're talking about laws, right?
right.
So laws wise, segregation is still illegal.
No, up to today.
No, it is still illegal. What they are doing is circumventing the law by starting to incrementally break the law's power apart. When you say to a business, you are able to segregate, that
Your
is
customers.
choose to work with only white people. As a contractor, choose to only contract white people. You didn't say the law gone, But if everybody practices this, you then put pressure now, the law is useless. And that is the strategy that Trump does. He inundates you with things that are not legal, distract you enough to think that they could be so. Oh, so as a business, I don't have to hire black people. As a business, I don't have to hire brown people. Oh, but it's not the law. But it now becomes practice, and this is their strategy ultimately, Leo. And why I'm highlighting it is because I don't think people understand how change
Take
actually
place.
happens.
Mhm.
Change does not always come as a big clubber over your head. Sometimes it is incremental, insidious moves that then brings us
Creeping.
backwards to what you're saying, 1819.
It's crazy. I woke up and I saw this case. Somehow it just came. Named Hazel Turner. If you ever get a chance to read it, it's really bad. Hazel Turner, 1918, where there was a businessman who died, and they searched and searched and picked up this black man, and they lynched him.
Yeah.
And then the next day, the wife made a comment, publicly that said we're not going to stop until we find the person. And they dragged his wife out, and they kicked her, beat her. She was pregnant. They cut her, used a knife and cut her stomach. And read about that. It's
Oh yeah.
his name is the man's name is Hazel. Actually, Hazel Turner. They call him Hayes, Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
And then his wife's name was Mary Turner, and all of those things start popping up in my mind this morning. And I'm not saying that it's gonna happen, but boy, I came to America with a lot of hopes that this was the land of freedom, this is the land of opportunities for everybody. If you read, I was listening to the pledge today, the American pledge. I'm telling you, if I can get it from me, when we read the American pledge, I prefer to read it so I don't make any mistake. And it says, hold on, man, hold on, don't go. American pledge, American pledge. Um, it says, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
For which it stands.
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
For all.
Yes.
And I can say that over and over, for all. It's not just for a sect. And that part got me to thinking, when I came here, I figured that meant it's going to apply to everybody and everybody. And I think all the laws that have come into place over the year is to equalize, because it's natural for people to be um, what you call it, biased.
Yeah.
And so what the laws have done, it's kind of leveled the playing field. And now
Trying
they're
to level the playing field.
trying to level the playing field. And so,
So,
yeah.
so here is Mark's comment, which is in line with this conversation. Mark says, them already circumventing the laws to promote equity, all the equity jobs with women, etc.
You understand that?
Mark, please clarify, because if I read this how it's read,
You
may you go
understand that?
fight.
Yes. You understand that, Mark? Come again.
But so you know, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms outlaid equality from time. Whether or not it was in practice, whether or not we were following this charter is a different conversation. But over time, changes in policy were to get us to there.
Mm,
And what is happening right now is a big erasure.
yeah.
Big erasure. In essence, America is saying, well, we're going to answer your request for diversity, equity, and inclusion with more racism. That is their response. If you listen to it, you'll realize how wild it is. We're going to meet your diversity, equity, and inclusion with more racism. So we're going to remove the ban on segregation and allow you to segregate your practices as businesses. And as that grows throughout the country, we can then go back to segregation. This is the plan.
And it's hard to think about it. It's hard to talk about it. In fact, it's hard to talk about it, period, because then you know that somebody will say, hey, this person is this and this person is that. And you know what I mean? And you know, it's rough.
It is a scary time, but I want people to know that in Germany, there was a time where people were afraid to speak up.
Mm.
And it led to a Holocaust.
Yeah,
There was a time where people were silent. They didn't say they were for or against. They were silent.
And because they were silent,
and it helped to move that forward. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know that it was not just Jewish persons in that Holocaust that were killed. They attacked persons with disabilities. They attacked Black people. Black people were burned in those furnaces. A lot of people don't know that. So we can't ignore these steps that are being taken right now. Let me see if Mark clarifies his point. All these laws against discrimination and equity and inclusion, and yet they open up the choice jobs and avoid us every which way they can. How many of us even in middle management? It depends on where you are, Mark.
I don't know, Mark. Where are you getting your data?
Yeah.
Because how many of us are in middle management?
Yeah.
Well, what's the question? I mean, are you saying that there's not enough?
He's saying with all the laws against discrimination, there's still discrimination.
I mean, you're never gonna get rid of discrimination.
No.
It would be crazy for us to think that there's never gonna be discrimination. People, if you're white and you have the majority, there's a likelihood that there are going to be people who are going to discriminate against you if you're Black. It's just the way it is. And I'll tell you this, that discrimination, if Blacks were in the majority and some whites, there is going to be discrimination on that part too.
Oh, for sure.
There's never balance, but there's always something that people can do to minimize the risk of excessive discrimination. And help some people to be able to. I believe that Black people have made a tremendous amount of progress over the years. Tremendous amount of progress. And so, if you think about where it's coming from, the lynching that took place between 1865 and 1865 and 1930, that gone, right? Then now lynch them openly like that
Not
in
en
America.
masse. Not en masse.
Yeah, exactly. And but the thing is, from there, there's growth. You see,
Yeah.
we never used to have we couldn't go to school once upon a time as we're black,
We
but
were
no,
not allowed to
we are.
read.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we all have had the opportunity now these days to extend ourselves, keeping
Yeah.
in mind that we are only 13% of the United States population,
Yeah.
right? All right, so whites still have 76% of this country, and so
Yeah.
you have to also keep that in mind, keep these things in mind when you're saying these things, because
Yeah.
we can't and never will ever be equal, but we can create opportunities for us to be as best as we can. That's
Yeah.
what I think.
He says, Leo, they plot and plan to undermine the spirit of these laws all day, every day. That is true. That
Yeah,
is true. There's
that's
a
why
there's
these. That's why
active,
these. Yeah,
they're actively engaged
absolutely,
in
absolutely,
undermining laws around equality and justice
absolutely.
for all. Right.
Yes, yes.
So that for sure is true, Mark. You know, as we observe these things, we can't ignore these things. What I think, however, is missing from these conversations sometimes is what can people do. I was when I saw the removal of segregation um
Oh yeah.
comments, I said, so where's the outcry? Where's the outcry? Are we so satiated as a people? Are black people so quieted? Are they so comfortable? Maybe we're richer than I thought. Maybe maybe life is greater than I thought, because I thought that people would see where this is going.
I don't think you see though. I have to help you there. There's a lot of protests going on around the
Oh
country,
yeah, I see it.
but the problem is the media not carrying it, the
No, you have to
government
see it
not
on
carrying it.
social
You have to
media.
see it on social media, and then the other thing is what the Democrats have been doing is they've been filing court papers
Yes.
against these executive orders. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, I listened this morning, and there were like 130 uh, uh, court papers that were filed.
Yeah,
By,
lots of cases going on.
a lot of
And
yeah,
that's why I brought up the judges,
yes,
because the judicial arm of America's leadership structure is doing their job. They
they're
are
doing their job.
working to do their job. When Trump goes for a 1700
1798 law.
AD law that talk about aliens and war times, and
Yeah,
is using it to send people from one country to another country, and saying they couldn't land the plane because it was only a verbal announcement from the judge, not a written one.
that I'm still waiting on the results of that. So
Well, the people already gone to El Salvador, so
I know, and they can't pick them up back.
yeah,
and those are concentration camps.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you understand what a concentration camp is, but the general public, it's really hard.
I don't want to fully understand. I don't.
Yeah,
That's a scary thing.
Jesus.
Mark says they want you to take to the street predictably so that they can start shooting. Don't do what they expect us to do. Strike at the right time. I've heard that school of thought online a lot. Because black people are not leading any of these protests right now.
Right.
They're in the mix, but they're not leading like with Black Lives Matter, because they're being cautious, and rightly so. Because if Trump can just be signing off things, he will declare martial law, right? So you have to be careful. So yeah, I agree, Mark. It's a tricky time, but it's not the
Tricky.
time to be silent, though. It's not the time to be silent.
It's tricky. It's a tricky. Self-preservation is a big thing when it comes to these kind of things, and
Yeah.
it's understandable. The reason why people are quiet and they don't want to say things and they don't want to write things is that they think that it can come back to haunt them in the last, in the long run. And
Yeah.
so, there's a problem. But what are you going to do about it? You can't just sit back and say, "Oh, I hope that it turns," because if you hope, then hope don't really make any difference right now.
Yeah. Well, here's how it's impacting people already. one of the recent policy shifts they're making is that they're going to be requesting, especially those of us from Canada who are crossing the border in the US, to show your social media. Because of course this some Gestapo stuff, they're trying to decide what is your political slant.
Yeah.
What are the things you're writing online? What are the things you're commenting on online? True, me no plan for God states till him come out of office. I'm not overly worried about the border crossing because I don't plan to. However, it is something of concern because now you're censoring us. Now you're silencing us. And now you're saying you're going to deny access on the basis of our political position.
You have to understand though, in President Trump's mind, right? He's at war.
Yeah.
And so
it's his people who's told him that Trump no war, Trump going golfing every weekend. Trump not in a state of war. It's the people around him that have convinced him that it's a war.
If he's at war, then it makes sense that you're going to keep out the people who you think are your enemies.
Yes.
So whatever, even though we might look at it in one way, he's looking at it another way and saying, hey, this is how I think, and this is what I'm going to do as a result. So you can't tell President Trump at this point in time that he's not protecting the United States because he believes 100% that he is.
Yeah.
And so if you take him to court,
all kind of enemies.
Yeah, exactly. And you take him to court now and say, well, you were not acting in the presidential role. He's going to say, no, I was.
Yes.
I was. This is what I did. And so you have to understand that these things are not. They're not just being done. They're being done with a certain amount of statistics, and the statistics are based on who is giving him the. I remember once upon a time, back in 2000 something, when there was talk that there was weapons of mass destruction in. You remember that?
Yeah.
And then they after the whole thing was done, they said Mr. Bush got wrong information because there wasn't any weapons of.
Yeah, remember they put our Jamaican heritage brother Colin Powell.
Right, and he
point.
Yeah, and
point
so
on the map where they think the weapons are, the WMDs are, and none.
Exactly, and so if Mr. Trump is getting information from a source that says this is the way that is, we might have sources in a different way, seeing things that are different, and that's where the conflict is. The conflict is there are two different factions working against each other at this point.
Yeah.
And I can say that. Sorry, but I can say that I'm a moralist, and you are a atheist. We're never gonna come to
an agreement.
Agreement. You know, that's the way that is. Yeah.
Yeah, but we have to see the humanity in each other, and realize that there are certain things that are core. There are just certain things that are core to our existence and our coexistence. And this approach that Trump is taking, not only is it extremely negative and hateful, it will impact our very existence. And
I think that we started out trying to see how all of this implicates our Jamaica and the Caribbean country.
Yeah.
And I think we you're going to probably see a lot less visas being handed out from the Caribbean. And I mean, there were 43 countries that were named earlier this week.
It's a potential ban list.
Right.
And I'm thinking, what poor little Dominica do them? We never know Dominica on the radar.
It's and Nevis,
Yeah, like what? It's crazy.
So all this is affecting the Caribbean neighbors, and all right, when if you have a person in your community of good standing, the person is of good standing, and then all of a sudden you hear the police pick him up and then gone to jail, right? What the rest of the community go do? The rest of the committee will say, nah, deal with not jailbird, there, man.
Nah, do nothing. If them can grab Leo, what they gonna do me?
Exactly. So if you look at
Shut
St.
it
Kitts and
down.
Nevis and Dominica and the rest of the CARICOM countries, there might be a strategy in which they're saying, I want to pull these countries and say they're on a red list or a yellow list so that the other
Yeah,
countries they start to scatter. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That kind of thing.
yeah,
That's probably
yeah,
it's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
a strategy
It could
there.
be part of the strategy.
So
Um,
you never know.
could also be, they don't do anything without a plan. That's one of the things that we have to recognize. This plan has been in place, the 900 odd page document project 2025,
Yeah.
and other plans have been in place for a while. The Heritage Foundation is not a new foundation and has been calling the shots for a while. So we'll see more of this. And we'll talk about this more because as you can see,
It's a big topic to talk about.
every day there is something else. Almost every day I feel like I'm in a constant state of anxiety over America, Canada, the Caribbean, the impact of all of this geopolitical upheaval that has come at this time. So we will talk about this again for sure.
Yeah, I want you guys, if you don't believe in the policy, you make a decision about how you want to continue to live, whether you become a protester, whether you become a silent person, decide what is good for you, what you think is fits your personality, fits your lifestyle, and be it, I can't tell. I don't believe that I have the right to tell a person what to do,
Yeah.
but I can certainly provide the information to people so that they can help to make their own decisions.
Yeah, and make wise decisions. Make informed decisions.
Informed decisions, yes.
Make informed decisions.
Yeah, man.
We're gonna lighten it up a little bit and then go into
Why you take me to that to that the hard topic, man? Jesus and peace, my head that's what my
yeah.
head.
So we have to take down your temperature. We're gonna take
Yes,
down your
man.
temperature.
Jesus.
Um, and go to a lighter topic. The lighter topic is this.
Hey.
Dancehall artist Bounty Killa, after 15 years, has his US visa reinstated.
So hold on. Is there something good about that? Because where we see President Trump putting pressure on the rest of the population, they give
Then give
our
Bounty
artists Bounty Killa a chance to
Yeah,
come
man.
in.
Entertainment can come.
Entertainment can come in.
Yeah, man, entertainment can come. Bounty no say nothing crazy. Bounty been behaving himself. Kudos to who he says is the reggae visa dancer lawyer, Bennett Law, for getting him his visa reinstated, and he thanked a whole bunch of people and fly private, Leo.
Mr. The Learjet
Just can't talk him.
And
Him
then
the cross.
what is
Him the
this
hungry.
about?
Him no miserable.
What is this about DJ Khalid that every artist
Every
who
artist
flying
from
come fly
Jamaica
right and yard? What's
go
up
to
with
his
this?
guard, go kiss his ring. So here's the thing. Khalid, I have a love-hate relationship with Khalid. More hate than love.
Yeah.
But Khalid is interesting in dancehall because he actually does love the culture. When Khalid was starting out, them used to call him Arab. He played on Fully Loaded. Remember Fully Loaded,
Yeah,
Leo?
I remember that. I remember him.
Back then. So those guys, Bounty, Sizzler, Caperton, Buju, all of those guys at that time in the 90s, in the 80s and 90s, met this young guy
He was playing their music.
who play their music. And Jamaican people were frightened for
Yeah,
foreign. So
yes.
them see this guy, them put him on. They literally put him on. And that is what he used to leverage back in America to become the DJ Khaled, the personality, and so on. Yes, see, Mark says he was known as Arab Attack. Yes. So he has a connection to Jamaican dancehall historically.
Yes.
Now he has power. You want to kiss the ring because he has power. Khalid can do collabs. Khalid can produce you.
He can
Khalid
create. He can
get you
create
into
only opportunities.
more deeper opportunities. So the first thing Khalid do is carry them to the studio. After them meet in the lawn and take the pictures and so, and I'm studio them gone, you know. If
Yes.
Khalid no get a drop, if Khalid no get a line, something wrong.
I might forget something, man.
If I forget something from this meeting.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
and they know.
Yes.
They know. So he has Mark says he had to change his name after the 9/11 attack. Because it was Arab attack was his
I
name.
remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Yes, yes.
So Khalid is almost as if no dancehall artist should pass through the States without touching his ring.
Yeah, the Mavic touch. No, well, it has to be a big time that. I don't think Sizzler is gonna go there though.
No, man, Sister might go. Sister might go. But yeah, so that is the significance of Khalid for them.
Yes.
It's bittersweet to me, you know, Leo. Like everybody excited. Oh, Bounty this, Bounty that. Bounty is over 50. And for 15 years, he has not had a chance to tour in the US. He has not had a chance to monopolize on access to the US. And why is that significant? Bounty Killa is one of the only, I don't even know if there's anybody else, maybe Shaggy, who has been on a Super Bowl halftime performance. He performed with No Doubt. So imagine the trajectory of his career and then to lose the visa. That is a hit. And he's talked about it over the years, losing access to millions and millions of dollars.
What I think though, that has calmed him down a lot.
Yeah.
I have seen a major, maybe it's his age too, right?
Yeah, it's age.
I've seen how he has
mellowed
and is now looking like Mr. Moral.
Yeah, he's an elder statesman. He's walking into his role.
But I remember,
and it's significant, you know, Leo. Like we can't go around the impact of alliance. We can't go around how many artists he actually busts. And after artists don't bust other artists, Bounty has put on a number of artists. A number of artists, even your friend Vibes Cartel.
I know. He ain't calling me into that yet.
So he is significant. He's significant that way. I don't know what's going on with the ambulance. I'm out here, but it's excitement in my area. So you know, but for me it was bittersweet because I'm thinking, no matter how much comes out of this trip, it will never compare to what was lost.
As I said, this might be a good thing for him.
Yeah.
You know, from the general public. Because you cannot be this what you did when you're 25, 30.
Yeah.
You can't do that
51.
You can't.
It don't make sense.
It don't make sense. You know, and you have to change the way that people see you. And so, and which is why I like Vibes. I think Vibes understand that. And I think what's his name? Bounty understood that from 10 years ago. Because he started to change around.
Yeah.
You know. And Beanie Man. Beanie Man got it. I see him get
Beanie Man is a whole other topic in a layer. I know I haven't even done a talk the things on him yet because it's such a topic. But he's one of them that had his visa reinstated as well.
Yes.
And I think it was 13 years of not having his visa as well. And Beanie Man is also one of those people who had collabs with Maya, Janet Jackson, and
had so many
so much great potential. So we'll see. Hopefully they can maximize this. But in the interest of time,
you can't leave unless you say something about my.
All right, we're gonna talk about with friend.
Thank you. Yes.
Again, another bittersweet because Ninja Man wrote. He's been writing to I think Ricky Trooper from prison whenever he wants to communicate, and he wrote a note saying, it's been a rough time because he determined died behind Determined was Valerie Nita Robinson, his lawyer, and right behind that is Coco T, and he's feeling it. He's feeling it because he's behind bars since 2009. I didn't realize it was that long.
That long? Is in that? I thought it was like 2019.
Right.
Is
So
that
he's
right?
been behind bars for a murder charge, doing a life sentence, and it is taking its toll because now he's seeing all these people who pass away. Him can't go to them funeral, him can't pay them much respect. But not only that, he's seeing how things are just passing him by. And I must declare my bias. I'm a girl from Kingston 11, and Ninja Man has a special place in my heart. As a dancehall artist, I think he was par excellence. I think he was not to be messed with in lyrically. I think he ignited the culture in a way that a lot of artists did not do. And so I have a special place in my heart for him. I can't comment on his case. I don't know enough details about it. I remember when I was working at then CHRY before we changed the station. We helped to bring him up on a peace trip. He wasn't going to sing, nothing like that. He just wanted to talk about keeping the peace. He wanted to encourage young people to keep the peace. And on that message was how we got him into the country, because he's always had some kind of wrangle and tangle on his record. And that Ninja Man that I saw there was a humble, peaceful, calm Ninja Man. I was like, where is the larger than life, front teeth, gold teeth, Dan Gargan? None of that. He was none of that.
So,
and I don't know, it was a few years after that he was incarcerated. And I don't know if it was him reflecting on his acts. I don't know what that was, but he was on a peace mission at the time. And so anytime
what year was that? What year was that again?
I'm trying to remember, because it was probably 08 or 07,
But I've not seen an appeals
process
case on his behalf, and so it must be that they had him fingered good, and so forth. But Ninja Man, I remember back in the 70s when Yellow Man came out, and Yellow Man had take words out of the sky and put it on, round it.
If you have a thing, you must have a hen, and if you must have a pen.
He was the star around the sound system.
Yeah,
he could take a mic and just make up lyrics.
Yeah,
but I don't think that there is any other artist as good as Ninja Man.
Yeah,
to build stuff out of nothing.
Yeah.
He was so talented, unbelievably talented.
Yeah,
I don't know what his case is either. I never really took some time to get into it.
Yeah,
but I miss that kind of creativity out there in the music world, because he really did that. Let me hear that.
Mark says Ninja don't have a British princess to take his case.
Mark, I comedian.
Yeah. So I mean, we're gonna move on, but needless to say, the journey with the justice system always seems to cross over into dancehall.
Yes.
And so some people are having their victory lap right now, their moment. Vibes Cartel, Bounty Killa, Beanie Man. Meanwhile, the original front teeth, gold teeth, Dan Gargan is languishing in prison. And all of these from interactions with the justice system and more. So, we will revisit these things as we always talk about culture and music on this show. So we take a little side trip there.
Just to make my mind get free.
Yes, just to free up Leo mind, because we're going into another one. So I'm going to play this clip, Leo, because we're going to talk about the budget presentations.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to play two clips. One is the preceding clip and one is the response clip. So let's see.
With the income tax threshold being increased to $2 million over a 3-year period, some Jamaicans will take home roughly $2,000 more per month. Minister Williams made this comment on TVJ's All Angles last night.
If you faithfully put away that $2,000 because it's something that you were not getting before, at the end of 3 years, you'll have a tidy sum that you could put down on a car, a little pro box that you have to drive to go to work, and you don't have to stand up in the sun or think about rain to get a vehicle to drive.
From last night to today, they have asked me to say to you, to ask you, Minister, from last night to today, they want to know where they can get the Pro Box that costs $2,000 per month. That if you put it aside, where they can buy that Pro Box. Because they say they want that Pro Box.
I think that was a joke, right?
That is where politics gone sometimes, you know. Jamaica amuse me all the time. But those are the things that lighten up the budget debate period and the budget presentation period is when we get a viral moment because, you know, the new finance minister said if you save the 2,000 extra that she's going to give you in this new budget, then you can buy a Pro Box. And everybody's saying, no matter how much years you save that $2,000, you can't buy a Pro Box. They want to know which Pro Box that.
Hold on. So the minister did do that in good faith. How is it turned out into a joke?
Because everybody went and said, did the math. Everybody went and did the math. Because, you know, when they do these budget presentations, they make an announcement that sound like it big enough. You're going to get back $2,000.
Don't take the $2,000. Just put it in my bank account.
you never expected it, you know. So put it up, and in 3 years you buy a Pro Box. Everybody did the math. There is no way you can afford a Pro Box with that.
I listened
Somebody
yesterday.
commenting here.
Okay.
Greg Benji says, "Is that USD? LOL." I remember when the USD I guess the JMD was equal to the USD.
Yes,
Them
but
trying to get the USD and get out the Jamaican dollars. Mark said, "Cho, them need to get rid of the Jamaican dollar."
Oh my God! No, I remember when that was when I left that country. I just wrote that yesterday. When I left Jamaica in '84, it was 4-1. And I remember when my father used to buy US or sell US. Now we want to sell US. It was like $1 for $1. In fact, it was like 78 cents US to a $1 Jamaican dollar. You know, that kind of thing. So
wow.
Back in the 70s was good days.
When I left 99. It was $25 or $26.
Yes.
And Leo, within maybe a couple years.
Yeah, man, it's gone right through the roof. Because I remember, you know, I used to have a friend from Guyana back in '88. This is '88.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, she just left Guyana. And can you believe it? 1 pound of chicken was $188.
Mm-hmm.
It's 1988, you know.
Yeah.
And I said, what? What do you mean $188?
Crazy.
Yeah, I could not fathom that
Crazy.
happening in Jamaica, right?
Go buy one now for that. Go on now, go buy it.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so that is the light-hearted part of the budget presentations. Of course, the Minister of Finance, the newly minted Minister of Finance, Favour, she presented first, then the People's National Party responded, then the leader of the opposition gets to respond, and then the Prime Minister is responding. I think the Prime Minister's response is today. I haven't watched it.
Oh, today?
I thought it was today.
I don't think so.
Oh, maybe tomorrow.
I promised to listen. I listened to the one yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was kept. There was a sense of confidence and sincerity in the presentation yesterday. And I said to myself, I want to listen to the Prime Ministers.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I want to make a call in my own mind
Yeah.
who sounds different to how
Yeah.
and how the
Yeah.
difference
What's
is.
the approach?
Yeah. So even if I miss the prime minister, I'm gonna go take a chance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're gonna go back and talk about this again because we
Yes.
have to talk about the leader's perspective on
Absolutely, absolutely,
so
absolutely.
that's a whole other topic.
But what I was happy to hear yesterday, though, let me tell you what I think that I was happy about, because you and I
Mhm.
brought this thing here up last week, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was happy to hear that if the PNP comes into power, that they will open up opportunities for the teachers to stay,
Yeah.
like to provide, housing
Incentives.
incentives and
Mhm.
car incentives and rent to own incentives. And I was saying to myself, okay, so why weren't there those offered before?
Mhm.
Why is it that we're struggling to get this going when that opportunity is been there?
Mhm.
Why? Because if he Mark Golan identifies that these are possible, how come the government hasn't opened up
Oh,
the
it can't happen.
Yeah, why?
Well, I mean, depending on who you talk to, with Leo, some of these ideas will surface in the government plans at some point. Because if it sounds like a good idea and it has uptick in the public realm,
Election come up, right?
an election is coming
So
up,
the house we are talking about, they can't build so much house in the 3 months.
they cannot. They
Right,
cannot. But
yeah,
but they also know that if you put up 10, people will be happy too.
yeah,
So
yes, 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 yes.
so Mark Hayes says, why you think the dollar is worthless? It's not an accident. They declared economic war on Manley because he nationalized Alcoa. Beverly Brown says, but uno no si se favor and Andrew no make one. Mark says, that is why Andrew should say nothing. And Greg Benji earlier was talking about how he worked on 9 King Street and made the equivalent of 5K USD then, and he lived a good life. Boy, those days are long gone, Benji. The PNP and JLP sold out Jamaica to the
IMF.
guess it's IMF and World Bank. And
Listen, so I have a different perspective on IMF,
mhm,
right? Because to me, it's a good deal.
mhm,
Because it's how we use it. It's just like we have a need for a car,
mhm,
and we don't have the money, we go buy a car. And if you have bad credit, you pay more for the car than if you have good credit, right?
mhm, mhm,
I think it's the same thing. It's
mhm,
how we manage that
mhm.
that becomes a problem.
I disagree with you on this one, Leo.
Okay, because the only thing is that they put a little bit more
Restrictions.
restrictions
Yeah.
and they tie it to your income or your revenue or your taxes, everything else that you own, all the assets that you own, and
Yeah.
which it's understandable, because we're not talking about $100,000 or $200,000.
Talking millions and
Yeah,
trillions.
billions, right?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So,
So go
but
ahead and tell me.
here how I disagree with you, Leo.
Hmm.
You guys,
I'm glad. I am happy. Oh my God, that's what we're here for.
finally.
Finally. Jesus Christ.
So
Okay.
we in North America like to call this term predatory loans. That is how I view the IMF. The loan system is designed to break you as a nation. The first thing it says is you should get income from foreign direct investments. Second thing it says is you've devalued your currency. Third thing it says is you reduce production internally because now you're a recipient, not a exporter.
Well, me understand the production thing, but go ahead.
So what you have now is you destroy whole industries. Industries are destroyed because you cannot compete on the world market. You were told to cut your production, and we weren't even at the level of subsistence with some of these industries. Jamaica used to have a milk industry. Jamaica used to have beef. Jamaica used to have
Okay.
all of these things. And over time, because of these restrictions, rules of the loan,
a lot of our manufacturing went down.
a lot of our manufacturing.
Okay, so here's the problem with the manufacturing, and probably a lot of us don't take that into consideration, right? Many of our processes were running amok. Our sugar plantations, the system that they were using was using up energy, and they were running inefficient. And so, if I am going to lend you money, and my threshold is 35% debt to income, right? If when I look at your debts, you're at 52%, is either I am going to say I will lend you the money, but it's going to be at a cost. And so if there's inefficient operations in our country, which I know that there was, sugar was, alcohol was, all of these other companies were, even Air Jamaica was, right? And so because they're inefficient, the government is bankrolling, has to bankroll and to bankroll. So therefore, in order for them to give you the money, you're either in a simple way, you either have to go to your credit report, one-on-one. You have to go to your credit report and say, okay, we'll pay off all of them until it bring back down to 35%. If you can't do that, then the interest rate will go up, and the restriction gonna fall. That's the way that it goes.
So here's my thing. I will never see IMF as a good thing. I will never see IMF loans as a good thing. But here's my thing. Why wasn't there then, in giving us that money, instead of stipulations around destruction, how come we didn't have stipulations around building capacity, building up these industries that you say are inefficient?
Yeah, because you want me to answer that?
So we lost infrastructure in Leo, like because the government now have no money now for invest in education, have no money for invest in hospitals, now no money for invest in supporting farmers. None of that.
They will not stop the private investment, but they will not allow the government spending.
Yes.
So if you think about it, right?
But who cares about the people, private or government? Who's supposed to care about the people?
The government.
Exactly.
But I'm saying to you from the perspective of the IMF. The IMF is looking on and saying that I will give you the money, but it is either going to cost you raw dollars, or it's going to cost you in interest and restrictions. And so the restrictions, the production that we're talking about, that they're saying that they are to stop, is any government production. If the government had to shut down things, because if they're supposed to make if the business is 100%, meaning 50-50, 50% income, 50% expense, and they're not going to tell them to shut that down. But if your expenses are way over your income, that's where they're going to say,
you're in bankruptcy, but that's why you go for the loan.
Okay.
That's why
you go for the loan. Yeah, but
you need infrastructure, you need development. When you continue to kill the country, you're literally putting your foot on the country's neck. It is actually, this is why I don't like IMF. It reminds me of the colonial rulers. It is just the colonial rulers in another form.
Yeah, you can put it that way, but if they don't take it, they don't have it. If they don't take it, they're gonna go further down into the situation where they're going.
Or what was attempted by Prime Minister Manley is to source help from elsewhere. Going to the IMF was a last resort.
And that's the truth.
He went to Ghana. He went to Venezuela. He went to other countries to see.
They're going to give him stopgap. They're going to give him stopgap.
Give him some stopgap. And some people committed and some people didn't.
But you have to know that over the years since Michael Manley, we have gotten into the debt, right? We've gotten into the IMF debt several times over the years and come out of it several times, which means that it served its purpose even with this restricted period. So we get into it for 5 years, and during that restricted period, we say we have to do this the right way, and our reports have to reflect that. And for the 5 years, after the 5 years done, we're free again. But then what we do, we go back and go flaunt.
Yeah, so does it work then, Leo? Is it successful if every time the IMF terms end, we fall off again? And that's why I'm saying the investment has to be in development. The investment has to be in capacity building. It can't just be, I'm going to restrict you from functioning. It cannot be that. Because all we're going to do is ban with belly. And one prime minister say bitter medicine, one other prime minister say jingles in pocket. We just have ban up with belly, and then we come out of the banding of the belly, and we're no further ahead.
So here's what caused all of this. What me think? What caused all of this is because we don't have a great relationship with the world. I think the world use our resources more than we get paid for our resources. Music, culture, and stuff. We have not been able to capture that in a way that we. And then we have people who are causing this, the corruption in our country is so high that what happened is when the country them look on the index that says that you are so high in corruption, they're not going to give you no money. So which part they have to go? They have to go to the IMF because they don't have the relationship anywhere else. In fact, the CARICOM is a relationship that we could have used to help out with some of the things. I think that if we use CARICOM, listen to this. If we use CARICOM as the place, is a collaborative thing to get the funding from IMF, the collaborative approach, then the burden won't be on Jamaica alone. And then we can use each other's strengths to get the loan, and we are all right. But we don't know. It's just one of those thoughts.
So let's bring in some of these comments that were happening while we were going at it. Mark says, for starters, the IMF is not there to help. They are there to keep third world countries under heavy manners, so to speak. Greg Benji says, I dashed away my credit card a long time ago. Jamaica can be self-sufficient and tell the IMF and World Bank to take a walk. Then they were agreeing with me. Says they're right on, lady. Saying Greg then says they are importing sugar in Jamaica up to now. And Mark says, preach, sister. May have the crowd tonight in a Leo.
We're not business with you because we don't stand back.
Mark says, they make you draw a bad card. Remember that song?
But we don't have to take the IMF loan. I'm saying to you that we know the loan is there. But we don't have to take it. Because if we don't take it, then we are probably in deeper hell. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
It's like it's like the other day, our Democrats were in a bind. Because there's Trump.
Yeah.
And then there's the Congress coming with a bill that has everything that's bad about the bill. And if they pass the bill, then they're giving President Trump a free hand to spend wherever I want to.
And if they don't pass
it, then he must still get a free hand, a better free hand to do whatever he want to do. And so
6 or 1/2 dozen.
6 or 1/2 dozen, right? And so it's up to us as a country to determine whether or not we want to be further in debt, because the more debt you have, the more debt you have. And if we have corruption, it go worse. And so we have to make the decision, clean up corruption, clean up the way that we spend, make sure that we have a handle. I mean, how could you be running a country and you have monies that you can't find?
Yeah, I hear you on the corruption piece, Leo, but I also, for me, the people are the ones who have suffered, have languished under these restrictions.
I agree.
Not having access to proper health care and other infrastructure, not being able to afford a living, not being able to make their own living. Like when you kill the agrarian way, this is what North America suffer from right now. They don't know the source of their food, and Jamaicans had multiple different areas of farming that we were doing well in, and we're able to export. Them lock us out to export with NAFTA, but we go around and go Europe and do these things. But at the end of the day, is the suffering from me? Is it suffering from me that is hard to handle coming out of these agreements? But as and what did the government do? Once they had a little excess, they gave themselves 250 plus.
Exactly. And then they go back and go ask for IMF loan again, right? So
The cycle continually, or we never fix it.
so here's the link. Here's the link. There are a couple of things in Jamaica that we are not doing that if we do very well, our GDP will be strong, right? One, manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
We're not a manufacturing in Jamaica anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We have a manufacturing organization,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But we used to have so much manufacturing in our country once upon a time, and we
Mhm.
don't have it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember the Brazil factory? I said that was any good, but it provided something. You know what I mean? Manufacturing, yes.
Angle.
We don't have that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Agriculture, we have 250,000 smallholder farmers in Jamaica, people who farm and are willing to farm, but we cannot find a way how to bring it together so that everybody who farms can because when we do our own production in and farming, that makes GDP strong.
Yeah.
We don't have a strong GDP. That's why we always have to go back to the IMF.
Yep. Yep.
We don't have the only thing that we are depending on is tourism.
Yep. Greg,
Everything else is
some more comments here. Greg Benji said, them use chicken back and powder milk for politics too. This freeness mentality. Leo, Mark says, Leo, don't believe that hype. They want these countries to tank their industries and have us import corn oil and chicken back. That is a theme. Greg says, a bunch of sociopaths feeding on ignorant, poor, and suffering. Them a feed on the sufferers.
Who is the chicken back expert at Jamaica? Because it comes into our country so much. Who is the importer of chicken back in our country? Because that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Not chicken enough, chicken back.
Yeah. And chicken back has been a part of dumping that happens in the island.
It's dumping. So who owns the right for that?
To take it? We need to find that out.
Yeah, we find that out.
Because that person is an enemy. That person is an enemy of the state.
Enemy of the state. Anybody will bring chicken back in our country. They are not loving us at all.
They don't like we at all. Them accept the dumping. And looking for it.
Oh, okay.
You can apply through the Ministry of Agriculture. So anybody can bring it in, Leo.
Okay, all right.
Anybody can bring it in. I said, you notice it not selling no label bag in Leo.
No, it doesn't have no label. No, trust me, I want somebody to bring that in.
You can bring it in, man. You can bring it in. You can bring it in.
You're probably going to shoot me because you knock out some food at somebody.
Put somebody food. Yo, Greg says, in terms of solutions, Greg says self-sufficiency is the key. Self-sufficiency is unknown. Equals a quality or condition of being self-sufficient, a means of developing economic self-sufficiency.
Absolutely.
Beverly
supply
says,
and demand after the production. Go ahead.
Beverly said, now you're talking, Leo. Corruption is the topic. Greg says the mafia controls the chicken back and chicken tail too. Mafia control it, okay? So I don't know. We kind of veered off from the budget because we're waiting to return to it next week to talk.
Yeah, I don't want to touch it too much because I want to hear both sides.
The two leaders' perspective. Because we kind of got the brush strokes from Favel and
the $2,000.
Yeah, the pro box. Other things like they're giving over 400 billion to the civil service.
They increase the threshold.
and increase the tax threshold to 2 million and so on. So there were announcements. There were some announcements to tackle, but it's really the leaders who pull out what is the priorities for the parties. And we heard some of Mark's already. So we just want to wait until we hear fully all of it. And then we'll have a more fulsome conversation.
Last week we talked about PNP and Jelly, didn't we? We touched on.
We touch a little bit on politics and an election coming up and so on. So we'll revisit the budget conversation next week. We're going to wrap up. People are saying have a good night and stuff, and they had a great conversation. We're going to wrap up here because, tomorrow is another day. Next week, Leo, we didn't do a topic that we promised that we would touch on, which is tourism. So you and I have to pull forward.
And I love the topic. And I'll do some research on it so we can have a fulsome discussion on it.
Yeah. So next week, I promised one of our viewers last week that we would talk about it this week, but we didn't get to it.
Well,
so next week we'll add it in to our conversation because it's kind of related to the budget conversation.
It is. But before I came online, one of our listeners called me. And she wanted me to help her to understand why somebody cussed her out about her position on
Vibes Cartel.
On Vibes Cartel, right? Because she says he's guilty as hell and convict him and him free now and yada yada yada. All right, and so I had to say to her, yes, he was convicted, but the conviction was removed. So he's a free man. Right now, as it is, Vibes Cartel was never convicted. The record will show that he was never, that you cannot treat him and call him no criminal or convict. Yeah. He will sue you till you're dead. Okay? No matter how long you spend. All right. So I just wanted to clarify that because I know say, don't write anything on Facebook, say my convict. Right?
You will get in trouble. Vibes have whole heap of cartelians.
Trust me. All right. Thank you so much, my love.
Thank you as well.
Always nice. Always nice to talk to you.
Always a pleasure. Thanks to all of you who listened in, participated, commented. We appreciate the comments. It keeps us on our toes as well. We don't want to be an echo chamber at all. So feel free to disagree with us. And we'll feel free to disagree with each other.
Absolutely.
And we'll have a conversation again next week. Same time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Those of you joining us from Jamaica, we are an hour ahead of you now. So just check that. But 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll be with you again. Take care.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.